just supportive services to give you, the caregiver, a break. So signing up for home care is not a huge commitment. It shouldn't be. It should be something that you get when you need. So you can sign up for as little as 1 hour of care a day, all the way through 24 hours a day of care. We are located here in Frederick at 340 East Patrick Street, and happy to hear from you and talk to you more about how we can help you stay right at home. Thank you so much and enjoy tonight's program.
Eileen, thank you very much. And we will share a slide at the end of our presentation with Right at Home's contact information so that you can get in touch with them if you have any questions. Thanks, Eileen. All right. Here we go. All right, folks, give me a second. Get myself back on the screen. Okay. All right. So tonight, as I said, we are talking about movement and motion. I've got a few questions for you, though, before we get started, just so that our speaker can learn a little bit about who it is that you're taking care of and how you would rate their level of activity. So I hope you can see this poll on the screen. You can answer the question. So which of these best describes your loved one's mobility? Are they independent, don't need a device, have good balance, and can walk long distances? No device, but they hold on to furniture, walk in the community, but need to take some breaks. Maybe they need a device, use it, don't need to use it at home, but don't leave the house too much. Use the device and need supervision due to balance and mobility. Able to walk short distances with the help of a device and another person. Only able to take a few steps to transfer, or only able to transfer from bed to chair, or in the bed bound. So if you're able to click on the answer that best describes your situation, give it just another minute. Fantastic. So let me go ahead and end that poll, share these results with you. Hopefully you can see that. So looks like a lot of people not necessarily needing a device, but holding on to the furniture, need breaks when they walk. We've got a few folks more independent and a few folks less. So I'm quite confident Katrina will share information for all of you. Get rid of that. So without further ado, I'm really happy to introduce our speaker tonight. Katrina Wolf has worked with seniors for over 20 years in the field of physical therapy. She started as a physical therapy assistant at Frederick Home Health, where she worked for 17 years before she went out on her own and started Agewell Senior Fitness. As a physical therapy assistant, Katrina's expertise was working with neurological conditions such as stroke and Parkinson's disease. In 2018, she founded Agewell Senior Fitness in an effort to bring knowledgeable post-rehab exercise instruction right into the homes of seniors, and especially those with health conditions. Her mission at Agewell Senior Fitness is to prevent and reverse frailty in aging adults. Katrina has an AS in physical therapy assistant from Penn State. She's an ACSM certified personal trainer, an ACE certified senior fitness specialist, and a certified functional aging specialist. Katrina lives just over the Maryland line in Carroll Valley, PA, with her husband of 22 years. And together they have a 19-year-old daughter who's in college at Wingate University and a 17-year-old son with autism who makes their life especially lively and interesting. So without a doubt, I think we've got a great expert here tonight to help give us all some information about how to keep moving. So we'll get Katrina, you can go ahead and start your screen. Katrina, you able to unmute and put your, there we go. And Katrina, you need to unmute.
There I am.
There she is.
There I am, and then let me press that. Okay, hello everybody. I hope that everyone has had a chance to get out and enjoy the beautiful weather we're having. Fortunately, weather like this does make you want to get out and move, so I'm all for it. So today I'll be talking about navigating motion and movement, getting people, your loved one moving. So I've worked with people who've been bedbound in physical therapy, all the way up to very active seniors who can lift weights and have high levels of balance. So I have some experience with a little bit of everybody, and I'm trying to bring that into the talk tonight and give some tips and tricks for everyone to be able to keep their loved one moving and staying strong. So let's talk about the things that happen as we age. So I was really upset when I saw this statistic. We began losing muscle mass in our 30s, if you can believe that. And we continue to lose 10% per decade as we age. And that is even at a higher rate for people who are sedentary. So staying active is really important to stay strong and stay independent. Loss of strength is one of the most common reasons that people need to get assistance in their home or to move to some type of assisted living. Another common reason is dementia, but decrease in strength leads to difficulty performing ADLs, getting dressed, cooking, that type of thing. Other things, our bones become brittle and more susceptible to fracture as we get older. Our heart and blood vessels become more rigid. That is what leads us to cardiovascular disease. And we also have decreased blood flow to the brain and a decline in receptors and pathways in our brain. And those things happen to us as we age. So, what can we do to combat all of those things? There is one magic pill, and it doesn't come in a bottle. It is exercise. Exercise can help slow all of those processes down and even reverse some of those processes. You can reverse muscle loss and slow the decline, but also you can gain muscle even into your 90s. You can, with the proper exercise program, a progressive exercise program, you can add muscle. So don't think just because somebody's older that they can't improve their strength. So, the mission in Agewell Senior Fitness is to reduce and prevent frailty. What is frailty? Frailty is age-associated declines in physiological reserve and function across multi-organ systems, leading to increased vulnerability and health outcomes. Okay, that's, basically you have to meet 3 of these criteria down here. Weakness, slowness, low level of physical activity, self-reported exhaustion, and unintentional weight loss. Research has shown that regular exercise along with nutritional interventions can help to reverse frailty. And why is that? Because exercise affects all of the organ systems. It strengthens your bones, it strengthens your muscles, it helps improve your endocrine system, and it also helps improve your immune system, which is really important with what we're dealing with right now with the pandemic. We want to have a strong immune system to fight off anything that we might come into contact with, but also as the vaccine comes out, our body's ability to produce an immune response to that vaccine is what protects us. So any way we can improve our immune system is going to be helpful in keeping us healthy. Okay, so how much activity is recommended? And the ACSM, the American College of Sports Medicine, and they pretty much set all the guidelines. It's a huge organization that includes physicians. They set all the guidelines for physical therapists, physicians on what the recommendations are for pretty much everybody when it comes to exercise and activity. So the ACSM recommends for adults over 65, 150 minutes of moderate activity a week. That's 30 minutes, 5 days a week. 2 days of resistance training. So that's some sort of strength training, neuromuscular and balance training. And that sounds like a lot. So, if you have a very active loved one who can, you answered those poll questions, and the first question is they can walk long distance in the community with no problem. You can probably get them out for a walk and maybe work your way up to the 150 minutes. But if you have someone who's struggling just to make their daily activities of getting out of bed into the bathroom and the bedroom, then you don't want to remember that these are guidelines. These are optimal. This is in a perfect world where everybody's doing exactly what they should. But start where you are. If all your loved one can do is walk from the bedroom to the bathroom, that's where you start. You start adding on to that. Try to get the distance a little longer. Set up a little loop around the house and increase that over time. So the question a lot of people have is, it safe for an older adult to exercise? So always check with your doctor before starting an exercise program. There are very, very few reasons why people are not allowed to exercise. There are certain health conditions like congestive heart failure, COPD, where you want to be very careful with what type of exercise you do and how much you do. This is where a skilled clinician should come in. So if your loved one has extremely impaired mobility, if they've had a significant decline in mobility, if they have COPD, or if they have congestive heart failure and they haven't had physical therapy recently, get a referral for PT. There's home health care that can come into the house. They can get physical therapy right in their home, either through home care. There are several agencies in Frederick that do outpatient physical therapy in the home. So instead of having to go out to the clinic, they will come to you. There's also virtual options if you're not comfortable having someone come into the house just yet. Many clinics are offering virtual options, but PT is short-term. I would say the average is about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the condition of the patient when they see them. So you also want to have a plan in place for continuing that activity and exercise after PT discharge. In all my years of physical therapy, struggle people often had was what to do after PT they discharge. They come in, they do a lot of teaching, they do a lot of work, people start to improve, and then they're gone. And you have this, exercises that they leave to do. So it's good to have a plan on what you're going to do after physical therapy discharges to continue the momentum that you've built while they were there. Okay, so these are just some strategies that I learned over the years working in people's homes, to just small things you can do to increase activity. So if you have somebody who's not very mobile, make sure that you have them come to the table for all the meals. Sometimes as caregivers, we want to care for our loved one. We love them and we want to take care of them. They may at one point have taken care of us if they're our parents. And we want to bring their meals to them in their chair because it's hard for them to get to the table. But that little bit of walking to the table 3 times a day, you can start with once a day and then increase it to 3 times a day over time as they get better. Walking to the bathroom rather than the bedside commode. Now, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go to the bathroom. So we always want to maintain people's dignity and not want to rush them to the bathroom that they're going to have a fall or an accident on the way. But sometimes having a plan in place where you go to the bathroom every 2 hours, that decreases that urgency in getting to the bathroom. My very favorite is to get the grandkids involved. One of the most valuable assets I have are grandchildren. They are like little drill sergeants. They love to interact with their grandparents. And I had a lady one time when I worked in therapy, and I had given her some exercises, and her 8-year-old grandson was looking around the corner like, what's going on? And when I came back the next time, I said, are you doing your exercises? She goes, oh, well, my grandson, he won't let me not do my exercises. He's in here every day going, Grandma, are you doing your exercises? You can have them play games with their grandkids. I have a gentleman that stands and he throws a ball back and forth with his grandson. Anything to get them engaged. They enjoy it. The grandkids enjoy it. whether it's getting them up and walking outside to watch the grandkids play, or playing a game with the grandchildren, or having their grandchildren help them with their exercises. Grandchildren are, even if they're teenagers or adults, you know, grandchildren in grandparents' eyes are just everything. So grandkids are very motivational, even better than children, because children, when we get older, our parents don't want to listen to us. Take your loved one for a walk, but make it interesting. You know, put a bird feeder outside the window to go look at the birds. Go on the porch to watch everybody in the neighborhood walk their dogs. That's something else that my patients and my clients enjoy, is seeing the neighborhood, you know, saying hi to the neighbors. The language that you use can make a difference as well. So instead of saying, do you want to do your exercises now? You say, it's time to do your exercises now. Nobody wants to do their exercises. We do them because we need to, and we know what's good for us. So if you ask them if they want to, especially if they have some cognitive issues going on, they're going to go like, no, I don't want to do that. This one is very powerful if you can get it in place. Make it part of your habit or routine. People are very, we are creatures of habit for sure, human beings. So if you can take the exercises you're going to do, let's say you have some exercises that the physical therapist left for you, if you put that into the routine that you already have in place. So let's say you get up, you have breakfast, you go to the bathroom, and you watch The Price is Right. So if you add in there exercise, I get up, I have breakfast, I go to the bathroom, I do my exercises, and then I watch The Price is Right. So if you kind of sandwich it in to a routine that you already have in place, it's more likely to become a habit and a normal part of your day. If you have a paid caregiver, use them. They're there. I know I've worked with a lot of caregiving agencies in Frederick, and those caregivers, they want something to do. They don't want to sit and do nothing. And they can be one of your best allies in helping getting your loved one moving more by encouraging them to walk, helping them do their exercises. And oftentimes especially if they're our parents, they are much nicer and easier, will do things more for other people than they will for us. So use that paid caregiver. Consider a Fitbit or Apple Watch. If you can. I have a client who his family got him an Apple Watch for Christmas, and they said that once an hour it would buzz and say, get up and move. He didn't always get up and move every hour, but he did get up and move more. And he was able to see his progress and how many steps he took a day. One caveat on that, if you have a knitter or somebody who crochets a lot, it will look like they have like 10,000 steps a day, because the Fitbit measures the movement of the arms. And also, I think if you use a walker and you have a tracking device like that, it may not register all the steps because it does measure arm swing. Or another option is to hire a professional to come in and work with your loved one on exercises to get them stronger and more mobile. Okay, so I don't think we had anybody in the poll that had someone who was bedbound, so I'm going to go over these very quickly. So for people who are bedbound or have very low mobility, there are some things that you can do to improve their strength and stamina, even at that level. Sitting on the edge of the bed for meals and bathing, standing at the sink for ADLs such as brushing your teeth and brushing your hair instead of sitting on your walker or sitting in a chair, rolling left and right in the bed from one side to the other without assistance or with minimal assistance is excellent core activity. And I do this with people who are mobile. You would be surprised how people struggle with that. And sitting unsupported or standing if able for periods of time to improve balance and core strength. So if you have a loved one, maybe they're mobile now, but you're concerned about their mobility declining, if this is ever an issue, these are some strategies just to improve core strength and in low mobility individuals. Strength training. This is my favorite thing. It is the thing that is most forgotten. Everybody thinks about getting up and walking, and everybody walks around their neighborhood, but strength training is the key. One of the biggest reasons people need help taking care of themselves is because of loss of strength. So research shows that progressive strength training is beneficial for everyone, but it is especially necessary for older adults because of the rate at which we lose muscle mass. And the key is progressive, meaning you have to increase the volume of exercise over time, even in the elderly, even in the frail elderly. I have a client that is 97 years old next week, and we have increased her strength over the last, it's taken a while because of her age, but we have increased her strength. So the ways to increase strength, to progress a program, you can increase your numbers of repetitions, you can increase the weight or the resistance if you're using resistance bands. You can increase the number of exercises, or you can increase the speed of the activity. So the speed of the activity, you don't always want to do resistance training fast. Speed is more of a way to increase volume in your cardiovascular activities like walking or biking. So strength training is really, really important. Balance training. This is another component that's really important for keeping our loved ones moving. There are many systems of balance. We use our vision to help keep our balance. We use our muscles and tendons and joints to help keep our balance. And we also use our inner ear. And then your brain has to take all the information from these three systems, coordinate it, and then tell your body what to do. So it's really a complicated, amazing system, but a good balance program will address all of these components. And I'll say this about balance training, that if you're working on balance with someone, you have to be careful, because to improve balance, you really have to challenge somebody's balance. So they're going to be in a position where they're a little wobbly. So they need to either stand in a safe place, like in a corner, or have somebody stand by. I really prefer to have somebody stand by for safety during balance activities. Posture and flexibility. So as human beings, we are forward all the time. We're at our computers, we're in our cars, whether reading a book, eating our food, everything brings us forward. And sitting in this slumped position that we like to have can affect our posture over time. And then you add on top of that osteoporosis, and the vertebrae just collapse, and that accelerates the process. Poor posture can cause joint pain, backaches, headaches. Poor posture can affect your digestion. It can affect your circulation, especially your breathing. If you have someone with breathing or heart issues, that slumped over posture collapses the space in your lungs, and it really impairs your breathing, and it can impair organ function. So good posture as we age is really important for good health. So we lose flexibility as we age, and decreased flexibility can lead to joint pain, muscle imbalances, and weakness. So you'll have one, if you're slumped forward, you'll have the front of the muscles in the front will be tight, and the muscles in the back will be weak because they're all stretched out. And if you think of a rubber band that's been stretched for too long, it's not going to work. It's not going to bounce back and work very well. And that happens to our muscles if they're overstretched for a period of time. People that spend a lot of time sitting are very likely to have tight muscles that can affect posture, walking, and strength. And that can be true of our older adults who spend a lot of time in their chair watching television, but it can also be true of us who spend a lot of time in our offices looking at computers or in our cars driving. Some of the tightest hip flexors I ever saw was in a guy who drove a heavy loader. He was like in his 40s, and he was so tight from sitting 12 hours in a piece of large equipment. So that sitting posture for long periods of time can lead to some very tight muscles. For people who sit most of the day, or people who have significant posture issues. These are some ways you can start out slow with posture. One of my favorite things to have people do, especially if they are stuck, if you think of people who are older, they might be stuck in this position. And even if they try to sit up, they just can't. Their bones have.
It looks like we just lost Katrina's audio. Hopefully we can get her back because this is some fascinating information. Katrina, if you can hear me, try to jump back in. Hang on, folks. Katrina, we are still not seeing or hearing you. So everybody just be patient with us as we try to reconnect with Katrina. I know myself, I found myself sitting up just a little bit taller in my chair as I heard her sharing that information. And definitely helpful, not just for the people we take care of, but for ourselves too, who are really important to take care of ourselves, yourselves as well. It looks like Katrina's logged out and she's coming back in. So one of the questions that came up, I don't know if folks saw it in the chat box, someone asked what that term, she used the term ADL and what that meant. ADL stands for activities of daily living. And those are things like bathing, dressing, eating, using the bathroom. Those are activities of daily living. And as I'm sure you know, as folks get older, it can become harder for them to take care of those activities of daily living. Does anybody have any, well, I hate to have you ask questions as we don't have our speaker with us here yet, but hopefully she is coming. Anybody have any things that they have done at home that have been helpful or tips or strategies that you found to help get your loved one engaged in their exercise program or that's working for you to keep them moving? If you want to share that with us in the chat, that would be fantastic, and we'll share it with other people. Some of the things, and I don't want to steal Katrina's thunder, but some of the things that we talk about here where I work is we really encourage our caregivers to allow our participants to stand by themselves. We're all really quick to put an arm under someone to help hoist them up, but keeping them that ability to get up out of the chair, if you think about the muscles for your own self that engage when you go from sit to stand. So that's something we work on here. Someone has suggested music. Absolutely, put some music on and move. I don't know that Frederick has an oldies station. If you have Pandora or Spotify or some old records, that's fantastic. But definitely put some music on and do a little chair dancing. Hey, Katrina, welcome back.
Hi, my computer died.
Nope, no problem. Let me get rid of me and we will put you back on.
Okay, I don't know if you can still see my slides or not.
We are not seeing your slides. We're just seeing you.
Okay, so now you just get to listen to me talk. So for posture, some ideas for if you have, excuse me, I'm on my phone. So if you have poor posture, some ideas are laying flat in bed for 10 minutes. So a lot of people are slumped forward. They're stuck in that position. And so laying flat in bed, and a lot of people can't lay flat without a bunch of pillows. So you take the pillows out to what they are comfortable with. So you might start with 2 pillows and then go down to 1 pillow. I do the least amount of pillows possible without making them completely uncomfortable. The people that have a lot of trouble with this are people with COPD. They may have more trouble laying flat because of breathing issues. So you might, that might not be doable for them. So another thing that you can do, excuse me, I'm trying to get you so I can talk with my hands. Another thing that you can do is to use the wall. Have people stand up against the wall. And the key is to get as much of your body up against the wall as possible. So you stand flat against the wall, shoulders back, head back, arms back, and for as long as you can. Like start with 20 seconds and then work up to 30 seconds. So standing up against the wall. There, I sent out a paper with some stretches in them. They're just very basic stretches. Always want something to remember when you're stretching is you never want to stretch a cold muscle. So you want to do a little warm up first, even if it's just arm circles or some marching. Some of the muscle groups that are tight in us, especially as we age, that cause problems are our chest muscles from leaning forward, our hamstrings. Tight hamstrings can cause a lot of back problems. So if you know anybody with back problems, which is probably almost everybody, stretching your hamstrings can be something that can help to alleviate back problems, no matter what they are, because most people's hamstrings are tight. And then our calf muscles, when they're tight, they affect balance. So if our calves don't move very well, then our balance is not, it can.
Katrina, are you there?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that.
that's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, calf muscles are important for balance. So if your calf muscles are tight, a lot of people tend to lose their balance backwards. When you are stretching, make sure you hold the stretch for at least 20 to 30 seconds. I usually recommend 3 sets of 20 seconds, and that'll give you your minute. And don't bounce. I don't care what you did in gym class. People want to like lean forward and touch their toes and like pulse, and don't do that. You have a much higher chance of tearing a muscle if you bounce while you're stretching. So the most needed muscle groups to stretch are chest muscles, hamstrings, and calves. So those are the things you want to work on. And there are stretches for those in the handout that I sent. So what are your options for helping your loved one stay mobile? So one, I'm gonna give all of them in now times and regular times. And so everybody, because I think as vaccinations become more available, you're gonna see more places open like senior centers and gyms, and people are gonna be able to start going places like that. So I'm going to talk about all the different options that I have out there. The senior centers, when they're in person, some of the pros for the senior centers is they have more programs than just exercise. There's a lot of socialization. There's a lot of group programs, there's sports like pickleball, but there's also, book clubs and things like that where people can get together for social organizations as well. As far as the exercise programs, they have group classes, which are great for socialization. The instructor can watch and cue the person, and it's a low cost. Senior center exercise activities are generally pretty low cost. The cons of senior center group activities is it's a class, so it's not tailored towards the individual. It's not addressing the individual's needs, but it is a good way to get out and get moving. Right now, our senior center is virtual. They have virtual exercise classes. Again, it's low cost. You don't have to go anywhere. You can log on just like you are now. Hopefully they do not have glitches like I just did. This instructor is still live, so it's not pre-recorded. The instructor's live right there. And again, the cons are that it's not individualized for the person. You're not looking at that person's specific needs and addressing those. You're doing just a general moving exercise program. And you don't quite get the socialization with the virtual that you do with the in-person. So hopefully the in-person, hopefully that'll be coming back maybe by the end of the summer, I'm hoping. Utilize your caregiver. Like I said, they're there anyway, and they're giving you a break. And sometimes our loved ones do more for other people than they do for us. So you're already paying them. Why not have them help with exercise and movement? And the cons is your caregiver can do a program that's been given by the therapist, or maybe help with a YouTube video, but they can't design or develop a program specific for your loved one unless they have that type of background. I don't know, maybe caregivers out there that do. So that's the downside of caregivers. But the good vein as they're there already, and your loved ones are already familiar with them. Medically supervised programs. So Frederick Health, or FMH as I used to call them, they have a medically supervised exercise program called Pro Motion Fitness. It's out off of Crestwood Boulevard. It is supervised by a nurse and a exercise physiologist. So they take vitals. It was developed as their step down from their cardiac rehab, so that it was really brought about to help keep compliance with people who went through cardiac rehab. So it's about the cost of a gym membership, maybe a little bit more than a gym membership. The people there can help you individualize your program. I don't think they have machines, so they have cardiovascular machines and they have weight machines, but I don't think that they address like balance. They don't think they have balance programs, and I don't think they may be getting classes. I'm not sure because I haven't checked that program lately, but I think they might have been starting yoga classes out there. The cons is you have to travel to the location, and the staff at Promotion cannot physically assist the individuals on and off the machine. So you have to either be independent with getting on and off the machine, or have somebody with you who's going to help you on and off the machines. And then there's hiring a personal trainer. You can get a personal trainer at the gym. There are personal trainers at the Y. I know that at the Y in Frederick, there are personal trainers that are experienced with working with seniors. The pros of personal training is that it is individualized. That trainer is going to do a fitness assessment, find out what your deficits are, and address those deficits. And the program will be progressive, meaning that it will increase over time. The downside of a personal trainer at the gym is you have to go to the gym. And the cost, having one-on-one instruction is definitely more expensive than a group class, or just going to a gym and working out independently. Now, some gyms will give you free like session or two with a trainer when you first join. So if we were to do something like that, I would really encourage that. And you want to make sure, if you're talking about personal training for someone who is older, you want to make sure that that trainer has experience working with older adults. So you don't want just anybody who just really hasn't had the experience working with someone who might have osteoporosis. If you have osteoporosis, there are certain things you cannot do. You do not do twisting motions. You don't do forward flexion with weight. So there are precautions. And so you want to make sure that the trainer that is working with the person has experience. And then there's in-home training. That's what we do at Agewell Senior Fitness. There's another place called Home Core Fitness that does in-home personal training. It's individualized, it's progressive. You don't have to travel outside the home. The trainer comes to you. The downside is the cost. And again, you want to make sure that the trainer that you're employing does have some experience working with the type of person that they're serving. So not just older. If you have somebody who's living with dementia, you want somebody who has experience working with somebody with dementia. You have somebody who's living with Parkinson's disease. There are certain exercises that are better for Parkinson's disease. If you have somebody that's living with a stroke survivor, there are things that are better to do than not when you're working with somebody with a stroke survivor. So you want to make sure that whoever's working with that person has some knowledge in that, or at the very least is willing to learn on how to work with that. Because depending on where you are, not every area has access to people like that. And then there's virtual personal training. So no contact if you're concerned about COVID, if your loved one hasn't had their vaccine. There's no travel, there's no contact. It can be progressive and personalized. The downsides are the cost. And the other downside is that when you're doing like a virtual training type of program, if you're going to address balance, you should probably have another person there. This is where a caregiver can come in handy to be there to spot for balance activities. Because like I said, to really improve balance, you have to challenge balance, and to challenge balance, you put people in kind of precarious positions, and having somebody there to assist them would be ideal. So if you saw the slides, you would see the next one that said, ask me anything. So if there's any questions, I would love to answer them. I apologize for my glitch in the system. That's never happened to me before.
It's all good, Katrina. We are
Oh my
happy
goodness.
to have you. Please go ahead. I know you were going to have, we're going to ask people to, if you have questions, to please type them into the chat box. But while folks are doing that, Katrina, I know you would have had a slide, and I'm going to try. I found it. I have your presentation.
Okay.
I'm not great at screen sharing, so I'm going to try to put that up. But go ahead and tell people how they can contact you.
Okay, so I am more than happy to answer any questions. I have talked with people on the phone and who have called to inquire about what we do at Agewell Senior Fitness, and I have sent them other places because that's where they needed to be. I have referred to home health. I have referred to outpatient therapy. I have referred to lots of places. So if you have any questions at all, I am more than happy to answer them. Our phone number is 240-397-9050. And you can email me at agewellseniorfitness@gmail.com. And we have a website, www.agewellseniorfitness.com. But I'm more than happy to even ask, even answer questions about an individual that you might be curious about. Like I said, I have screened and spoken with people and sent them, somewhere else.
Perfect. I'm not sure, again, because I'm not good at this, if people can see this.
I can see it.
Perfect. And Katrina, will we be able to send these slides out to folks after?
Let me see about that. I don't know, because I'm using Google Docs. I'm not sure. I mean, I can send an email out and share it.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm not sure. It's not, let me see if I can convert it to something that's
Shareable.
Katrina, I could put it into a PDF if I can get it. This is McGean, sorry.
McGean. Okay, we could do that with Google Slides. Okay, I'll share it with you through Google Drive.
Thank you.
So folks, I apologize. We tried to get that over to McGean so that she could share it, and that wasn't working either. So best laid plans, is I know as caregivers, things don't always work out the way that you want them to, but Katrina, I'm so grateful that you were able to reconnect. And folks, you should have gotten with the reminder email, Katrina sent out a list of exercises, correct?
Yeah, let me just speak to those a minute. These are just very, 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 very generalized exercises. The first one is to sit in a chair and kick the leg straight. With that one, you want to make sure that they're straightening the knee all the way. That's a very simple exercise. Almost anybody can do. Good for knee range of motion. Even if you have knee arthritis, just getting that joint moving is going to help lubricate that joint and help it feel better over time. The other one, the next one is to stand and pull your shoulder blades back together. So we talked about how you get really tight across here because of all of our forward sitting. So something you can do to strengthen the muscles in your back is to just squeeze those shoulder blades together and hold. Very simple exercise. I tried to make these as simple as possible because I wasn't sure, as caregivers, there are people working with people who are very, very immobile, and then people who are, very mobile. So one of my favorites is sit to stand. It is a fantastic exercise. It works balance, it works lower extremity strength, and it's functional. It's something we have to do the rest of our lives. So just practicing sit to stand, 5 times. There's ankle raises. Our ankles are really important for our walking, propelling us forward. And they're also very important for our balance. So keeping them strong. There are mini squats. You can do those at a counter for your more mobile people. Also wall push-ups for people who are more mobile. And then there's some simple stretches, 3 stretches. One is for hamstrings. One is a calf stretch. Remember, calves, if your calves are tight, it's going to affect your balance. So, and then there's a stretch this is one of my favorites, is to put your hands behind your head, pull your elbows back, and then tilt your head up. Now, a lot of people are hunched forward. They can't do that. So I have them do one arm at a time. And it's important to kind of try to tilt the head up if you can and keep the elbow back.
So,
And Katrina, it sounds like quite a few of those could be done in a chair if somebody's not safe to be standing, right? They
Yeah.
could modify and sit.
yes, absolutely.
We have a great question.
Okay.
How do you motivate your loved one to move? It's been especially difficult during COVID with being stuck home all day.
Yes, and that is a question for the ages, because how do we motivate ourselves to move? I mean, it's not just
Good, true.
it is not just a few things. Grandkids is one of my one of my tools in my arsenal. Moving for a purpose, like I said, walking to the table to eat. Most people don't want to meander around their house for no reason at all. So working things that you have to do anyway into that the movement pattern. So really exercise and movement would also have to be, if it's meaningful to the person, if they love birds, if they like bingo, if they, love their sister, if they like to go for a ride in the car, just simply walking out to the car, getting into the car, and then taking them for a ride around and then back into the house. Finding what is meaningful to them and using that to your advantage. Sometimes, like I said, you almost have to have somebody else do it. Sometimes having somebody else do it, like your caregiver or the grandkids, step in, because sometimes caregivers they just get a lot of resistance from their loved ones. And music is a good one. If you have somebody who loved music when they were young, using the music that they loved, especially, during a time in their lives when they were active. I had one lady who that woman loved Elvis. So I would play Elvis when we would exercise as like motivation. I had to stop playing Elvis because she would stop in the middle of an exercise and just start dancing, and she'd have like a band around her legs, and it wasn't safe. Like she had dementia. So, so I used the music, but it got to a point where it wasn't safe to use the music during exercise. We had to dance later because it was like, she would just break out and dance with Elvis on.
That's a great story. Music is a wonderful motivator.
Yes.
And as you said, doing activities that are relevant to someone. Maybe they can help you put the groceries up into the higher shelf, or fold the big towels that require them to stretch their arms out further.
Mm-hmm. Or fold the little towels, anything, especially if they've had a stroke. If they've had a stroke and have some mobility in that hand, but they tend to ignore it, especially people who have non-dominant side weakness. So if they're right-handed and their left hand has been affected, they just forget about that arm. They don't use it for anything. So giving them a two-handed task of folding washcloths or towels is good to bring that hand into using it.
Excellent. We have a great question in the chat box. Are there specific exercises that can be done for an individual who has difficulty getting out of bed that they can do before the caregiver arrives, or for a person whose blood pressure drops quickly on standing?
Okay. Two different questions, both good questions. For difficulty getting out of bed, rolling left and rolling right are good core exercises. If they're having difficulty getting in and out of bed, I would recommend having a physical therapist come out and do some training if they haven't already. But I do know that oftentimes when I was doing therapy, I would go out and they would tell me that they were having trouble getting out of bed, and they would do it perfectly for me because they're just stiff and don't move as well in the morning. So laying flat with your knees bent and rolling the knees side to side, we call those lower trunk rotations, can help. And just rolling side to side in bed on your own without somebody helping you is really good core exercise. I use it even in my people who are actually pretty mobile, but I make them do it a certain way. Now the blood pressure going down when they get up, you have to move slowly, doing some ankle pumps and maybe some heel slides before you sit on the edge of the bed. And then once you sit on the edge of the bed, you need to sit there for a little while. If you have what's called orthostatic hypotension, or those blood pressure drops with position change, you need to move slowly. So sit on the edge of the bed for probably about 5 minutes. You can, again, do ankle pumps and
the leg extensions to try to push that blood up out of your legs back up to your heart and head. Basically what happens is when you change position, all the blood rushes out of your brain and you go, and then things start to go dark and you can have fainting episodes and that type of thing. So pausing, and even from sit to stand, the saying is sit, stand, stop. So once they sit, you wait, you have them stand and you wait. It can take up to a minute for that blood pressure to drop. I had a gentleman years ago with Parkinson's, and this is really common in Parkinson's disease. I had a gentleman years ago that it took like 45 seconds for his blood pressure to drop. So if he stood up and walked to his kitchen, he was fine because he could get there in 25 seconds. If he stood up and walked to his bedroom, he'd pass out.
Oh my.
It took us 3 weeks to figure it out. It was like we could not figure out what was going on, but it just took that long for his blood pressure to drop. So so when you change positions, you need to stop and let the body kind of regulate. And in that kind of extreme case, then you really just need to see your doctor. There's other things they can do with medications and compression socks and things like that. So if you're passing out, that's a trip to the doctor. But also make sure you're well hydrated. So a big reason why people have low blood pressure is they're dehydrated. Our older adults, they just don't drink. After we turn 70, our brain stops telling us we're thirsty and hungry. So making sure that they're well hydrated. I would say if you have a lot of trouble with orthostatic hypotension, blood pressure drops, to have a drink of, a glass of water before you even got out of bed.
Excellent. Thanks, Katrina. How about this? How important is stretching before even gentle exercise as we age? Do we need to have someone do stretching before they take a walk or do other light exercises, or can they just pop up and go?
You should not stretch a cold muscle. So you would want to do a warm up first. So gentle exercises and stretching last. There's actually some research that shows, as far as strength training, that stretching before strength training actually reduces strength, and to make it simple. So you would want to do like if you're going to go for a walk, go for a light walk and then do some stretching, or even stretch after you walk. You're at risk of muscle injury without stretching for athletics. If you're playing soccer or football, you don't properly, you're actually more at risk for injury for not properly warming up and just going gung-ho. But you don't want to stretch a cold muscle. You're actually more likely to injure it than if you do, a warm-up, whether it's marching or, a short walk or arm circles, something like that. But you want to kind of, I have my clients stretch last.
Excellent. Thank you. That's great advice. Folks, I wonder if anyone has any other questions. You can put them in the chat box. I want to share, Katrina, when you were gone, we were filling some time and I asked people to share if they had some tips or strategies that worked for them. And this is a fabulous one. The person wrote that when she is using her electronic toothbrush, she does half a 30 seconds standing on one foot and then stands on the other foot to help her balance. I just thought that was a great way to pull that into an everyday routine. You can't overlook that if you're brushing your teeth.
And multitasking too. You're getting two things done at once: clean teeth and better balance.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if no one has any other questions, we're right at 7 o'clock. Katrina, this was great information I shared. I'm already trying to sit up a little straighter and stretch out my back. So good information for all of us. Folks, I will send out an email again with those exercises in case you didn't get them, to give you Katrina's contact information as well, since that slide didn't come through. And if we can find a way to get those slides to you, we will do that. Katrina, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you. All of you also, thank you, McGean. Please don't forget to contact our sponsor, Right at Home in-home care and assistance. Even if you have questions about home care, how it works, what the logistics are, what it costs, go ahead and give Right at Home a call. I know that they'll help answer your questions, and perhaps they are the right agency to help you out at home. and maybe get a caregiver who can help take the pressure off of you to do the exercises. So everybody have a great night. Next month, we are on April 8th is our event. We are doing, what are we doing? Navigate, we're taking care of you. We are doing navigating movement and no, that was this time. We're doing navigating self-care, mind, body, breath. We have a number of speakers who are coming to our April event to talk about simple things that you can do to take care of yourself in regard to nutrition, breathing, some gentle exercises, and some other holistic approaches to help you take care of yourself. So I hope you join us. That registration link is open. I'll send that in the email that I send as well. We'd love to have you, and please share with others. Everybody have a great night tonight. And Katrina, thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Christina.